And go ahead.
Okay. Hello, welcome to our conversation today. We're going to talk about debunking Zillow's estimates. You are talking with Susan McCallion with McCallion and McCallion Real Estate here on Sanibel Island. I represent Sanibel and Captiva Island, and we also have a Fort Myers office where we help people in all of Southwest Florida. Thanks for joining us today. Come visit us at McCallionRealty.com. Let me just move this up here. And what is a Zestimate? We'll start with the basics. Zillow founded some years ago, and they began something called a Zestimate. The Zestimate was an estimate on someone's property using information downloaded from property appraiser websites and offices throughout the United States. When Zillow first started with the Zestimate was not very reliable. And we did a study on the Zestimate amounts back in 2016. I'm going to talk about that in just a bit. But they used the downloads that they got from property appraisers' websites from throughout the US and used that to populate and generate via the software programs what someone's home should be worth based on sales that have occurred in the general area and based on general details of the home. And really it was used to help people get an idea of values. Obviously, Zillow hasn't been inside each and everyone's home and they don't understand unique features of it. So it was really meant as a ballpark. Jim did a study in 2016 to get a feel for how on or off Zillow was at that time, and he did an article. If anyone's interested in that outdated article, let us know and we'll be happy to share that with you. The article showed that 66% of the time Zillow was off by more than, it was off 5% of the value. 41% of the time Zillow was off more than 10%. And 18% of the time, Zillow was off more than 20%. There is an 8% margin of error on top of that. I remember back in 2016, the whole reason why we did this study is because as we were going to listings and doing our listing presentations, we had so many sellers say, wait a minute, you think that we can get $900,000 for our home? But Zillow says it's worth 1.3. So we want to list it at 1.3. And it was a real challenge for us at that time because if we listed it at 1.3, it just wouldn't sell. So we had to do an in-depth study to determine in hard facts how many times Zillow was off on their mark. The average Sanibel sales price in 2016, quarter one was $857,659. This shows that the dollar amount corresponding with the projections could have been as high as $171,000. I know from my own experience, we had a home that was probably $400,000 off. So these are general numbers and averages. Using Zillow's own numbers, this estimate will be wrong by over $170,000, 18% of the time for an average Sanibel sale, which is huge, and it was even higher. Sorry. Whoops. Let's see here. Our experience is looking at our own properties. We had 1113 Sandcastle Road. The Zestimate for that property was 10% off. And it was off by $66,000. We were able to get more for that client when we sold. we had unit 317 at 1605 Middle Gulf Drive. The Zestimate was 200 above what we were actually able to achieve. So you see, unit 306, the Zestimate was off by $520,000, a 29% change. These are all the 2016 numbers. Some are huge. Has it improved? It has absolutely improved since then. And the reason why it's improved is that Zillow has created relationships with local real estate boards, and those real estate boards are now actually feeding their information to Zillow. Looking at our hyper local situation, the Southwest Florida Real Estate Board, which covers Fort Myers, Lee County, Lee County, and southwards, has had a relationship with Zillow for quite some time, and they've been sharing the information. The Sanibel board just began a relationship, a data feed with Zillow. So the numbers are much more accurate at this point. So they still can be off, but less percentage of time. So if Zillow is going to be 20% off, and that still will happen, that's only happening 7% of the time. They are sometimes 10% off on their price, and that's happening 15% of the time. And 29% of the time, they are 5% off. And the margin of error is down by 5% to 3%. And here you can see that those numbers have changed slightly. So if we're looking at their more often 5% off, that's a $42,000 difference. If we're looking at the 15% off, that's 85,000, and the 7% off is 170,000. So what's happened is the values are still high, but they're not wrong as often.
Hey, Susan, it's Tiffany. You've gone silent. Are you still with us? Hey, Susan, can you hear us? Okay, it looks like she signed out, so we'll give her a second to try to sign back in and see if she had some technical difficulties.
Okay.
Oh, I see you.
All right.
Okay, you're back on.
Sorry about that, everybody. Can you mute? Just okay. Tiffany, can you hear me still?
Yes, I can hear you.
Great. Let me get back to where I was. Give me just a moment, sorry. How you doing there, Bob? It's great seeing you.
Well, let me unmute here.
Everything going well with you?
Everything is going well. I'm just going to say by pure coincidence, it turns out that the director of marketing for Zillow is on a committee with me at a educational institution in northern Vermont, just by coincidence.
Well, you could probably give us some good insight. The company has changed a lot over the years, and they've gotten their algorithms down to much more acceptable ranges, I think.
Do their estimates percentage-wise tend to be on the high side or the low side? What's the distribution look like on that?
You know, Jim had a good bell curve to demonstrate that back in 2016. I don't know what they're at right now. I do remember back then they were over more than they were under, but I don't know what they're at now. So good question.
He sent me a couple of web links, which I'll send to you with some very current data.
Great. Yeah, I'd love to see that.
I'll send you the links.
Yep. Thank you very much.
I thought that was really, this is a ski racing academy, a very, very high level ski racing academy in northern Vermont, where I was chairman of the board for a number of years. And it turns out we end up on a committee together. And so he's helping us with some of our technology distribution.
That's awesome. Sounds like you have the right people on your committee.
I'll send you the link.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're back. Our own experience in 2019. We had talked a little bit about this, and then I went off on a tangent. I'm not sure where our internet dropped at that point, but I will tell you that sometimes I think that Zillow leads the market and directs it a bit. I do get people that come with preconceived ideas of a value of a home prior to actually seeing it because they looked on Zillow and saw what the Zestimate was. I think we all forget that Zillow didn't actually walk in the home and take a look at it, and they didn't see that there was a pretty view out the window or that it was only a block away from the beach. So I caution everyone to be careful with the emphasis they place on a Zestimate. Similar dollar amounts, you'll see the similar dollar amounts for the Zestimate. It's just that they're not as wrong as often. Zestimate error is mostly below 10%, which is great news. Some swings of 95,000 to 270,000. And the actual sales price versus Zestimate, that's not so good. For the last two properties, let's see. Yep, we've got, bear with me, I'm sorry, okay, so what we found is as we have sold properties, we've found that once we've sold a property, Zillow will adjust its Zestimate to what it sold at. So I'll give you an example. We had a property that was priced under $1 million. Zestimate for that property was 1.1, and then we closed it for perhaps around 830. And then as soon as we closed it, Zillow then adjusted their, oh, here you go. The example of Zestimate Swing is you've got in the fall, the estimate for the property was 1.1. Then it closed at 835 and the Zestimate moved down closer to realistic. And then it adjusted the Zestimate for that particular home. So I think that it's important to realize that the folks at Zillow are providing a great resource with the Zestimate, but you've really got to get into a home and see it for yourself. See what the attributes are as they're comparing to other homes that have sold. And that's going to help you make your best value assessment for a home you're buying or selling. Now, if you're looking at your Zillow's estimate because you want to sell your home, I'd encourage you to give me or your real estate agent a call and ask them to give you a list of 5 or 6 comparable properties to review. Look at the pictures, look at the description, look at the location, drive by the house. If it's for sale and it's an open house, definitely pop in and see what the open house, see it during an open house and get a good feel for how it compares to your home. So if you're looking at the Zestimate as a comparison for a home you are thinking of purchasing, I definitely think that you also want to have a formal appraisal done on the home. And once you have it under contract, that is, to see what the appraised value looks like. But you also, again, want to look at comparable sales that have closed within the past 3 months, ideally, and see how they compare. Look at photos, look at the descriptions, drive by the properties if you're able to. And that will really give you a better idea and a more fine-tuned estimate of the home you're either looking to sell or to buy. Bob, do you have any questions, or anyone else that's online? Happy to answer questions that you may have.
No, my main question was, again, what the distribution of their accuracy was.
Yeah, I'll ask Jim and I'll see if he can get that for me, and then we'll reach out to you to get that for you.
Because obviously home sellers want that estimate to be on the high side and home buyers want that distribution to be on the bottom side.
That's right. That's right.
The only other question I have, because I filled out just in preparation for this a Zillow questionnaire just to see, and where Sanibel doesn't allow bedrooms on the lower floor included in the bed and bathroom count, yet that's a factor in the sales, right? So how does that absence or addition of data actually affect their estimates?
So that's a great question. You definitely don't ever want to add that to your Zillow profile. Oftentimes, I think that the lower level non-conforming space doesn't truly affect your sales price because it's not included in the square footage, but it does impact a buyer's desire to purchase a home. So there are homes that have non-conforming space. Many times I think that they're a feature that people enjoy having, but what I will tell you, and I know that you've heard me say it on a personal level many times, if you ever walk into a home that has that non-conforming space, consider it bonus. Really buy the house based on what you see above base flood elevation. That means the living area of the home and the bedrooms that are above your base flood elevation. That's what you should base your value on for your home. And Zillow should be doing that as well.
Thank you.
So, because the valuations that we have in our MLS are based on the square footage that is livable. And livable square footage is above base flood elevation, or it's considered non-conforming, like a ground level home that was built before the National Flood Insurance Program came to be. So all of the MLS numbers are based on livable square footage, and any property that has lower level non-conforming, that is not considered livable square footage.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anna, any thoughts or questions? We've got Anna Turner. Can just give it hello. She's in the office with me here, and happy to answer any other questions. I do love Zillow, and I have to say, a lot of our clients like to use our website. They like to use Zillow, and they also like to use Realtor.com. I know some of those other platforms are starting to have something called the valuation model for homes. So you might want to compare. If you like those valuation, you might want to look on to Realtor.com, which is now using an average value model as well. All right, well, thank you all for joining. I'm sorry for the hiccup with our internet service there, and I look forward to talking with you, and we will certainly get you, Bob. I'll ask Jim for that bell curve.
Good.
All right.
Great.
Take care, everybody. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you very much.
My pleasure.